Hi guys, and welcome to Escapement Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the new Escapement Time H0300. I purchased this watch from the official Escapement Time store on AliExpress. I did get a little bit of a discount, but you guys should know the deal by now. That's not going to sway my review one way or the other. You're going to get my honest review on this channel every single time. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, there will be an affiliate link in the video description. You guys aren't paying any extra. I just get a little bit of commission from the sale, and I can keep purchasing watches like this just as soon as I see them. I think they're going to be interesting. I think people are going to like them. I have no hesitation to pull the trigger on this because of you guys, so thank you guys so much. The retail price for this watch is just under $49 US. Isn't that just crazy? That's before any taxes or VAT or coupons or anything like that. They don't really participate in any of the sales, so if you like it, pick it up. Yeah, there's no point in waiting for a sale on this thing. This watch only comes in black that you can see here. I'm really hoping, so far they've sold almost 90 of these things already in like 10 days. So I think this is going to be a really good seller for them. I think they should start considering some different dial colors: white, green, brown, red, blue. Just make them all. I think people are going to buy them. The watch case is made of stainless steel. It doesn't mention whether it's 316, but I'm sure it is. It has a mineral crystal, a screw-down crown, a screw-down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko VH31 sweeping quartz movement. So this is a watch that I actually asked Pagani Design to make about 2 years ago, and they refused to. I spec'd it just exactly like this, keep it as thin as possible, use the VH31, and they just never made it. So yeah, when they didn't make it, I went out and I bought this. So I got this one used but in mint condition for $220 US. Recently these things have gone up to about $400. So I had been eyeing the black dial version because I like this one so much. But yeah, I just haven't been able to spend $400 on it. So yeah, when this thing dropped, I just had to check it out. So I'm pretty curious to see how a $50 Chinese-made watch stands up to the real deal $400 Swiss-made watch. So I say we get right into this full review. But before we do, see what's on wrist today. I'm wearing a new Baltony that arrived just a couple days ago. Looks really, really cool. I love the dial on this thing. Absolutely stunning, as you can see. Review for this one will be coming up probably next, maybe two slots from now. So yeah. Subscribe if you're not subscribed so you can see this one. All right, let's get into the review. All right, so let's talk about the dimensions. So dimension-wise, I did measure these beforehand, but they're pretty much exactly the same as the Hamilton. So you have 38 millimeters on diameter, you have a case thickness of 10.6 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip of 47.2 millimeters, and the watch head alone weighs about 41 grams. So putting these things side by side, they look very, very similar. Even the dimensions are pretty darn close. So you got 38 millimeters on diameter for both of them, 47.2 millimeters on lug to lug for the Escapement Time. The Hamilton is right at 47. And then the thickness. So the thickness is the biggest difference. You can see there, they are pretty close. The Hamilton is actually 1 millimeter thinner at 9.6 millimeters. So that's really the only difference. You can see most of it is in that case back design. But yeah, the profile on these things are pretty much identical. The finishing is as well, which we'll talk about here in just a second. So size wise, they're really, really similar, and no surprise, they wear very similar. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw this on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, it wears great. I'm telling you guys, it feels just like my Hamilton. Yeah, nice and thin, nice curvature to the lugs there as well. And yeah, I mean, it just wears great. I got really no complaints about it at all. Even that little bug right there likes it. So yeah, very happy with the way this thing wears. You can see underneath my oak tree here, a little bit of a reflecting, but you can definitely see that kind of blue tinge to the AR coating. You also get some really unique reflections. I don't know if I can show it to you here, but hopefully in the crystal section I'll be able to show you guys. But I do think it looks really good, and on the supplied strap there's 2 layers underneath the watch there, and it still hugs the wrist really nicely. So no complaints with the strap as well, and I'm pretty happy with it. Sadly, we don't have any sunshine today, but there you can see really nice matte dial there, very legible. I've got no complaints with the crystal. As far as reflections go, I think it's perfectly acceptable. The material, that's another thing which we'll talk about in just a moment. All right, Let's go throw this on some other straps and we'll get back to this review. Here we are on a tan leather strap. This is from Straps Co. And again, I think that looks really good. As you can see there, it wears kind of just like a Hamilton. So yeah, that extra millimeter of thickness, I think it's mostly in that crystal, maybe just a little bit in the case back as well. So but yeah, it does look really good on the strap in my opinion. And here we are on a Riche canvas strap in olive drab. Again, I think it just looks excellent, and you can see how nicely it wears. Very lightweight, very comfortable. And I mean, this thing is obviously going to be a strap monster, so no surprise that this looks really good on the strap. And here we are on an elastic strap with a tan with a white stripe. I think it looks really good. This one has been super comfortable. There's one layer underneath the watch, so it's still hugging the wrist really nicely. So super comfortable. Absolutely loving this combo. And lastly, we are on a ribbed nylon strap from CNS Watch Bands. Again, 2 layers underneath the watch there, and it's still wearing really, really good. Black on black, it's always going to look good. All right, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, let's talk about the case finishing on this. And just like the Hamilton, this is a fully bead blasted case, as you can see here. I mean, putting them side by side, you can really not tell much of a difference. I think the Hamilton has maybe just a little bit more of a crisp line on it, as far as all the corners are just a little bit more crisp. But other than that, I mean, you're not going to notice that when it's on wrist. I mean, getting up real close, you can barely, I don't even know if you can see it. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I don't know. It's so close, so very close. You do have a signed screw down crown here. It's just a push-pull crown on the Hamilton. The Hamilton's is a little bit bigger. I measured this one at 6.5 and this one at 6 millimeters in diameter. So yeah, nice big crowns to get your fingers on. You kind of need that on this watch here. I'm not a huge fan of the big crown, but it is nice when you are manually winding it. On the Escapement Time, you don't really need something this big. I think they should have shortened that just a little bit. It would have been a little bit more visually appealing, but I know this is at least closer to the Hamilton. But as far as the case finishing goes, I see no issues with it at all. You can see it's a really nice and consistent bead blasting. This is one of the easier finishes to pull off. So it's no surprise that Escapement Time, they're always good at finishing watches. So pulling off something like this is not a difficult task for them, but I think they did a really good job on it. You can see the case back here. It's a screw down case back, simple notches to get a tool in, circular brush there. It does have your Escapement Time, and I kind of like how they do the spec sheet on this. Instead of going around the outside, they kind of have this little table here. So waterproof, 100 meters, movement VH31, and then battery. It tells you right there what the battery is. So that's really nice to see, and that's going to come in handy pretty soon, I think, at least in a couple of years. So yeah, really nice to see that. Everything on this bottom edge is nice and soft. This watch is super comfortable to wear. All right, so let's talk about the crystals on these things. First and foremost, test the Hamilton. That is positive for sapphire. Testing the Escapement Time. That is negative for sapphire. So that's the main drawback to this watch. $50, I think mineral crystal is perfectly acceptable. I really would like them to charge like an extra $20 more and put a sapphire in it. I think it would. I think people would still buy it. But at this price point, I can't complain about mineral crystal. The crystal on this thing, it's pretty nice. It is a double domed mineral crystal, just like the Hamilton. The Hamilton is obviously sapphire, but it uses a double dome crystal. The Hamilton uses clear anti-reflective coating. This one uses a blue AR coating, as you can see there. It does get a little bit distracting. One thing I noticed about this crystal, which I haven't really noticed in any other double dome crystal, is the reflection on it. So look at the reflections here. They look pretty similar, right? They go straight across the watch, but when you get it close to the edge, it kind of horseshoes around a little bit. You can see it right there, really good. Whereas the Hamilton is just straight across all the way. I'm not really sure what's causing that. I've never seen it on a crystal like this. It's really unique. It does give some interesting reflections on the crystal. It's just something that I noticed. It's not a huge deal in my opinion. It's just really interesting. Like, see that horseshoe shape there, but you don't see it on the Hamilton. It's like that on many other watches that I have that are sapphire. So maybe it's just a mineral crystal. I don't have a double domed mineral crystal around here to test my theory on. But yeah, the crystal on this thing is actually pretty good. You know, mineral crystal in general is less reflective than sapphire. Then they threw a bunch of AR coating on it. So Legibility wise, I've got no issues with this. I know people are going to prefer sapphire crystal. Someone in the forums brought up a good point that mineral crystal is better prone to absorbing knocks. So if you knock this on a rock, mineral crystal is probably going to scratch, but it's probably not going to crack, where a sapphire crystal would probably not scratch, but it's going to crack. So on a field watch like this, mineral crystal is not a bad thing. You know, that is a good point to take in. I don't think many people are going to be using these things in the field. Maybe I'm wrong. So I think people, just give us an option. I think he should just give us an option. Pay $25 extra or $20 extra for sapphire. And I think you give the people the choice, and we'll see which one sells out more. But yeah, it's a really a decent crystal in my opinion. They put enough AR coating on it that it's not a distraction. And yeah, I think they did a pretty good job on it. All right, so let's talk about the dials on this thing. So obviously the Hamilton, I think it is done a little bit nicer. Whether it's, worth the extra money just for the dial, I'm going to say no. But the Hamilton is done really nice, glossed black numbers. They are raised up a little bit. I don't know if you can even see it or not, but they are raised up, and I think the handset is pretty nice on it as well. But we're here to talk about the Escapement time. The branding on this thing is going to be the big turnoff to a lot of people. The Escapement time branding there, it's a little big. It's a little too elegant for a watch like this, in my opinion. They need to figure out some sort of simple logo that they can use to put it up there, or on this specific model, just get rid of it completely. I don't think it's necessary. You can definitely see the Hamilton looks like a cleaner dial, even with the branding on it. I think the numbers on the Escapement time are just a little bit bigger. So it kind of makes it feel a little more cluttered. Something you're not really going to notice on the watch, in my opinion, unless you have them side by side. But yeah, I think the dial is a little bit more claustrophobic feeling, I'll say. The indices are all a little bit bigger. The minute track is all a little bit bigger. The hands are a little bit bigger. So it just feels a little busy on the dial, and that Escapement time text is not doing anyone any favors. It doesn't really bother me. It's not something that I notice when I look at the dial. So yeah, that's just something to note. Everything is done really nicely. You probably saw in the macros, everything is nice and crisply printed. There's no like depth to the numbers or anything like that. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I like to see a little bit of depth there. But really, it's not a big deal. It's a matte black dial, as you can see there. There's no real texture or anything like that. But yeah, really nicely done. Faux patina on the indices, faux patina on the hands as well. The hands are nicely sized. They reach right out to the minute track. They're a little bit more, they're a little bit bigger and a little bit bolder than the Hamiltons are. You do have your counterbalance on the second hand here. It is a loomed second hand there, as you can see. And we'll pop up a lume shot right now, and here you can see it against the Hamilton and against the Baltony on the right. The dial does fade faster than the hands do. I'd say the Hamilton and the Escapement time, they're pretty much on par. In person, I think the Escapement time is just a little bit better, actually. And that's really all I can ask for from a field watch like this. These are kind of watches that I take on camping trips, and as long as I can read them in the middle of the night, that's enough for me. And I can definitely read the Hamilton, so I can definitely read the Escapement time in the middle of the night. So yeah, I think the Lume is perfectly acceptable for a watch like this. All right, let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is the Seiko VH31. It is a sweeping quartz movement. So you have a 2-year battery life. You have 4 ticks of the second hand every second. It hacks. It does everything you need it to do. It's a really nice movement. You got a screw down crown here at the 3 o'clock position. Nice and big. First pop out, you get a nice satisfying pop out. This does nothing, obviously. Pull it out to the second position. It hacks the movement there. And there's no ghost date position or anything like that. And yeah, it's a great movement. I got no issues with it. The hands do sometimes jump around a little bit, but for the most part, they don't really move around at all. Obviously, you can't really compare it to the Hamiltons. It is a mechanical, Swiss-made, hand-wound 80-hour power reserve, or 60-hour power reserve, sorry. It's a great movement. It's been super accurate for me, and I absolutely love it. But you can't really deny the convenience of quartz. This is going to be a great grab-and-go watch for me. Yeah, I've got no complaints with the movement in this thing. I don't know if I mentioned it. 2-year battery life, I think is what it says. And the accuracy of these things are usually like plus or minus 20 seconds per month. So yeah, can't complain with that at all. And I just love the fact that it's not a 1 tick per second watch. So yeah, zero complaints with the movement in this thing. All right, so let's talk about the strap on this thing. So like I mentioned earlier, you got 20 millimeter lug width. The strap that came with it, it's actually pretty nice. You do have brushed hardware instead of bead blast. I'd like them to kind of match that, but I know this is kind of like an off-the-shelf strap where you can just get it from anywhere. They're not expensive straps, but this one is actually pretty nice. It's nice and thin, so even with the 2 layers underneath it, it keeps it very wearable and keeps it, pinned down to the wrist nicely. You got plenty of holes for adjustment. It's very flexible. It's soft. It doesn't scratch or itch my wrist or anything like that. The hardware seems pretty solid as well. Yeah, I got really no complaints about the strap on this thing. It's nothing spectacular, but it is serviceable, it is usable, and I'm definitely not just going to throw it in the trash. The strap on the Hamilton, absolutely love this strap. You can see it's gotten used and abused like crazy, but absolutely love it. Super thin, it smells delicious. Really nice Hamilton branded tang buckle there. Yeah, I really do like this strap. It's very comfortable, and I think it's just the perfect color for these watches. So yeah, really no comparison between the two in my opinion. I would definitely take this over this strap any day. So there you go, guys. That is the Escapement Time H0300. Just an awesome little field watch out of China. Escapement Time, they always do a really nice job with watches, and this is no difference. $50. So am I happy that I paid $50 for this watch? Absolutely. It is a killer field watch, and I think you guys are going to love it. Would I pay $75, $85 for the same watch with sapphire? Yes, I would. And then that would put it right up there with the latest Baltony field watch, the NH35 one, with the best field watch out of China, in my opinion. Am I happy that I paid $220 for the Hamilton? Absolutely. That is a killer watch with a ton of history. For $220, you cannot beat it. It's iconic. It's just an iconic watch, and I'm glad that I have it in my collection. Would I pay $400 to get a black one with this one in hand and with the white one here? Because I have both of these right now, I'm going to say no. I wouldn't pay $400 for it. I mean, they're even more than that. $400 would be a pretty good deal. These things new are going for like $450. Yeah, it's just not worth it to me because I have these two watches in hand. So yeah, I think this is just a great field watch, and I think you are going to be extremely happy with it. The things that really set it apart for me are the case profile, the case thinness. VH31 is excellent. The finishing is right on par with the Hamilton. Yeah, I see no reason to pay $400 just to get the brand, to get the mechanical movement. The history, if the history is worth that much to you, then go for it. You're not going to be disappointed in the watch. But yeah, we're here to talk about getting the most bang for your buck, and it's going to be really hard to beat this watch. So I think that's it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.